Matthew Perry, best known for his role on Friends, has died at 54 years old.
Guys? Guys? Guys?
Perry rose to fame playing Chandler Bing on Friends for 10 wildly successful seasons from 1994 until 2004. He was born in Massachusetts but raised in the Great White North in Ottawa by his mom, who was the press secretary for Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Last year, Matthew Perry released a memoir where he opened up about his battle with drugs and alcohol over the years, beginning when he was 14. He said he was finally sober after years of struggling with addiction. Perry reportedly drowned at his Los Angeles home. Warner Brothers, which produced Friends, said in a statement, Matthew was an incredibly gifted actor. The impact of his comedic genius was felt around the world, and his legacy will live on in the hearts of so many. This is a heartbreaking day, and we send our love to his family, his loved ones, and all of his devoted fans. And I mentioned Trudeau Sr. Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was a classmate of Perry's while they were both children in Ottawa. He wrote on social media, Matthew Perry's passing is shocking and saddening. I'll never forget the schoolyard games we used to play, and I know people around the world are never going to forget the joy he brought them. Thanks for all the laughs, Matthew. He says, you were loved and you will be missed. Maggie Wheeler, who played Janice on Friends, posted on Instagram, what a loss. The world will miss you. The joy you brought to so many in your too short lifetime will live on. I feel so very blessed by every creative moment that we shared. Film critic Richard Crouse now joins us live on CP24 to talk a little bit about Matthew Perry's career and the impact of this loss. Well, Richard, first of all, I guess original impact, because this is not something that I think anyone was expecting to get on a weekend. If there was going to be an obituary run on a late-night newscast, it wasn't going to be Matthew Perry.
No, this is tremendously sad news. If you are familiar with his recent career, the book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, you know that he just did the press rounds last year. He did a show here in Toronto where he spoke to the audience, and it was a new Matthew Perry that we saw. We saw someone who was, seemingly healthy, had put the demons of his past life and his Vicodin addiction behind him. So it just seems, extra sad that he had finally found some contentment in his life to have this happen at the very young age of 54.
Well, he was a standout on Friends, and I know that's really hard to say with the cast that they had, but I think Chandler sort of became a fan favorite just because of how great his deadpan was and just the sarcasm. But he did mention that, that he talked about his addictions quite a bit, but I'm thinking a little bit about how they seem to sort of tempered his career trajectory. He had the whole 9 yards and the sequel and a few other good attempts at cracking a crack at the apple. But it seems like because of what he was dealing with internally, his career never even to hit the stratosphere. He certainly hit the atmosphere, but maybe there was another level that he never got to.
Well, I think that it's very difficult once you've created a character like Chandler Bing, who was so recognizable, so firmly etched in people's minds, to move past that. He had a show which was really good shortly after Friends ended called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, written by Aaron Sorkin, and it took place kind of in a Saturday Night Live style sketch comedy show. He was a writer and a producer on the show, and it only ran for one season, but it was a tremendous show. If you can find it on streaming, certainly have a look at it because it's worth a look, and he's really good in it. And you get to see a different side of the kind of comedy that he was able to deliver and the dramatic work that he was able to deliver, and sadly never really had the chance to do on the big or small screen.
I think, Richard, there was a part of the memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. He said he wouldn't have been able to survive being a journeyman actor because of his addictions. What do you think?
Well, it's who knows? It's hard to prove a negative. I'm not sure if he would have been able to do that or not. I think that he was so famous for the one character that is probably made it very difficult to decide and choose other characters, and the addiction probably didn't really help things for him. But I choose to remember, what a great comedic actor he was. When he was on Friends, there's one line that always sticks out with me, and I wrote it down here. He said at one point, Joey's looking for advice, and they're trying to come up with something. He says, "I'm not great at advice, but can I offer a sarcastic comment?" And that is sort of the totality of Chandler Bing right there. This character who was kind of insecure but sarcastic, but always had a funny line in his arsenal to unload. And it was, a great character for him. And I think back to his real life and what he was battling against in his real life. He said that he was addicted not only to the drugs, but also to making people laugh. And when he was on a show like Friends, that was a crushing weight that he felt, but that he pushed forward and worked through. And I think that's really telling as well. I also love, and you mentioned earlier, that he and Prime Minister Trudeau went to school together and once got into a fight. It's interesting that in 2017, Pierre Trudeau challenged him to a rematch, and Matthew Perry said, "You know what? Thanks very much, but now that you have an army at your disposal, I think I'm probably going to take a pass on that." So, funny in real life, funny on the screen. This is just a tragedy. Far too young at age 54 to no longer be with us.
Well, it's too bad they didn't have any more of those schoolyard games, as the Prime Minister put it. But this is certainly a tragedy, and a lot of millennials that grew up on the show and still binge watch it to this day. This is not a happy day in Friends fan land. But Richard Crouse, we're always very happy to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and all the best.
Thank you for having me.